Well, at least 5 police sources have confirmed with Fox 13 that the person killed is Anthony Mims, also known as Big Jook. Now, Big Jook is the brother of rapper Yo Gotti.
The death of Yo Gotti's brother has sent shockwaves through the Memphis hip-hop scene. As sad as it is, rumors have started circulating regarding his death, revealing disturbing secrets, and it has everything to do with the late rapper Young Dolph. So what is the real story behind the gruesome death of Yo Gotti's brother? Let's find out. Big Jook killed.
Mims was shot in the parking lot of Pernod's Restaurant and Event Center. Tonight, police are looking for a white Ford Explorer SUV in connection with the shooting.
It was a sunny Saturday afternoon when tragedy struck. Big Jook, known for his involvement in managing Yo Gotti's music label, collective music group CMG, was attending a funeral service on Winchester Road 6300 block. Little did he know that this would be his last day on earth. As the funeral service progressed, Jook, dressed in a somber black suit, joined other family members to pay their respects to his late Uncle Eric, a legendary kingpin in the area. The atmosphere was heavy with grief and remembrance, but no one could have anticipated the horror that awaited them outside the event center and Perignon's restaurant. It was in the vicinity of the funeral service that Big Jook's life was tragically cut short. Gunshots rang out, shattering the peace and causing panic among the mourners. What is even more shocking is that a few hours before his death, he had posted a photo with an ominous caption, which read, "They don't want to face you, they want to snake you. Stay alert too. Stay alive, watch your back at all times. Put snakes on the plate and eat great." Big Jook was fatally wounded, his body succumbing to the violence that unfolded before their eyes. The chaos that ensued was captured on video, providing crucial evidence for the investigation that would follow. Memphis police, responding swiftly to the scene, were met with a grim sight. Big Jook lay motionless, his life extinguished in an instant. The authorities immediately initiated a manhunt for the suspect or suspects responsible for this heinous act. The news of Big Jook's untimely death spread like wildfire, sending shockwaves through the music industry and the community. The loss of a prominent figure like Big Jook, who played a pivotal role in Yo Gotti's music label, left many in disbelief and mourning. Outside Perignon restaurant, where the shooting occurred, a heavy police presence descended upon the scene. The area was cordoned off as investigators meticulously combed through every piece of evidence, determined to bring justice to Big Jook and his grieving family. Meanwhile, St. Francis Hospital, where Big Jook was rushed in a desperate attempt to save his life, became a hub of activity. Medical professionals fought valiantly to revive him, but their efforts were in vain. Big Jook was pronounced dead, leaving behind a void that would be felt by all who knew him. The news of Big Jook's death reverberated throughout the city, prompting an outpouring of condolences and tributes from fans, friends, and fellow artists. The loss of such a vibrant and influential individual sent shockwaves through the music community, leaving many grappling with the senselessness of the tragedy. According to police reports, Big Jook was not the only one who was shot that afternoon. Turns out another man was also rushed to the same hospital after sustaining gunshot wounds. At 4:15 p.m., officers were flagged down on a shooting at 6385 Winchester. A male was located on the scene and transported to St. Francis, where he was pronounced deceased. A second male arrived at St. Francis by private vehicle. He is listed as critical, the police report read. As the investigation into Big Jook's murder unfolded, the police remained tight-lipped about the identity of the suspect or suspects. Speculation ran rampant, with social media ablaze with theories and conjecture. But one question loomed large: what was the motive behind this brutal act? But before getting to the motives behind the murder, it is important to note that witnesses at the funeral reported that they saw 2 suspicious men inside the church during the funeral. Apparently, Big Jook was being watched by the men who were seated at the back of the church before heading out earlier than the rest of the mourners. What's more shocking is that the vehicle that Big Jook was murdered in also had his mom, who was seated in the back seat. Who would want to have Big Jook dead that bad that they wouldn't care if his innocent mom was in the way? Well, the rabbit hole goes deep, and as it turns out, it involves the late Memphis rapper Young Dolph.
A rapper whose star was on the rise in the music industry has been killed.
Rapper Young Dolph has now been shot and killed in Memphis.
On the 17th of November 2021, Memphis and the entire hip-hop industry was rocked by the death of Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., alias Young Dolph. That day, Young Dolph was in Memphis doing what many people loved him for, supporting local businesses. The rapper was on his way to one of his favorite spots, Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies, to buy cookies for his mom. At around noon, Dolph drove around Memphis in his signature camouflage covert. He stopped at a gas station just a short distance away from the bakery to put gas in his vehicle. In a video obtained by TMZ, the rapper can be seen filling up his car with gas before heading off to Makeda's Homemade Butter Cookies, where he would be last seen. His would-be killers must have seen him driving through Memphis and tailed him as they waited for the perfect opportunity to strike. After leaving the gas station, he drove to the bakery and pulled over at the parking lot a little past noon. He could never have known that he was only moments away from losing his life. He exited his vehicle and made his way into the bakery. That was the green light for his enemies, as they also made made their way to the bakery. The attackers pulled up into the parking lot in a two-door Mercedes-Benz where two men who were completely masked jumped out of the vehicle with guns and opened fire. The rapper was hit 22 times, and slowly, as he bled out on the floor of his favorite bakery, his life slipped from his fingers. News of Young Dolph's murder spread like wildfire, leaving fans in the music industry in shock. The hunt for his killers began, and the authorities were determined to bring them to justice. But in a case filled with mystery and speculation, finding the culprit seemed like an insurmountable task. The tension was so high that there were calls for the implementation of a curfew in Memphis.
Several public officials calling for a curfew tonight, fearing acts of retaliation in certain parts of the city after Young Dolph is shot and killed.
Immediately, heads turned to his #1 op, Yo Gotti. Shortly after Young Dolph was gunned down, rumors started to circulate that there had already been retaliation against two of his known rivals, Black Youngsta and Yo Gotti. Some claimed Youngsta's grandmother's house had been shot up, while others said Yo Gotti's restaurant, Privé, had also been made a target. Journalists were quick to the scene to confirm that the restaurant had not been shot up. However, the rumor caused a lot of tension in Memphis, forcing the cops to take action. Several Memphis Police Department squad cars filled the parking lot of Privé, which is located about 10 miles from where Dolph was shot and killed. This was in an effort to prevent possible retaliation attacks. Luckily, even Black Youngsta's grandma was okay. However, Privé was eventually shut down temporarily by cops, although they did not confirm if there were any threats directed at Gotti or his business, meaning that it may have been nothing more than a precautionary move. Less than 24 hours later, the world got their first look at Young Dolph's alleged murderers. When Memphis police released pictures of two people standing outside the cookie shop in broad daylight, aiming guns at the windows and then taking off, running back to the white Mercedes they had arrived in. Although Young Dolph's passing affected many of his friends, family, and fans, one man seemed most affected. This was none other than his cousin and fellow rapper Key Glock. Following Young Dolph's death, Key Glock went ahead to delete all his social accounts on Instagram and Twitter. However, he made a comeback a few weeks later where he posted on his story telling people to stop trying to reach him. "Stop asking me if I'm okay, knowing damn well I ain't," the post read. Key Glock, born Marcavius LaShun Cathy, is Dolph's cousin by marriage. Dolph signed his protege to his Paper Route Empire label in 2017 and released the collaborative album Dumb and Dumber with him in 2019 and the follow-up Dumb and Dumber 2 in 2021. A few days later, he gathered the courage to pen down an emotional tribute to Young Dolph. "Damn, bro, I'm lost," he captioned the post. "My heart is torn, my brain is about to explode. It hurts when I breathe. Why you leave me so soon? I'll never be the same. You was my left-hand man, my brother, my cousin, my mentor, and drink partner." However, one part of his emotional tribute stood out and had people thinking that sooner or later, someone was bound to pay for the hurt that he was feeling. "There's nothing no one can do or say to bring you back, and that just eats me up by the second. You was Phil Jackson and I was Yo MJ. Remember I told you I got you back no matter what? I guarantee that," the post read. In a way, Key Glock's reaction to the whole incident reflected what everyone felt. People were deeply hurt. Is it any wonder those closest to Dolph would want to avenge his brutal murder? But that is not all. It seems Yo Gotti's brother was kicking it with one of the guys who was later arrested for Dolph's death and was accused of being the mastermind. 3 days later, police received one of their first breaks in the case. That Mercedes was found. Investigators discovered it had been stolen from an East Memphis gas station just a week before. According to Covington police, it was used in a different murder only 5 days before it was driven to the scene of Young Dolph's death. While police worked on connecting the pieces and the public cried out for answers, those closest to Young Dolph were left to mourn the death of a man who to them was larger than life, not because of his international fame, but because he was a father and a son. On November 30th, Young Dolph's family laid him to rest in a private, heavily secured funeral. The cops' tireless pursuit for justice bore fruit after they identified and arrested one of Young Dolph's killers. 9 days after the tragic shooting on December 9th, police arrested the first person they believed to be involved in the superstar's death. Cornelius Smith was arrested after a traffic stop in South Haven, Mississippi.
Video of the arrest of one of the men accused in Young Dolph's murder. Last night we told you Cornelius Smith was arrested in South Haven a month ago. Police picked him up on a warrant for an alleged carjacking involving that white Mercedes that was used in Dolph's murder.
Smith was picked up on an auto theft warrant involving the stolen white Mercedes-Benz, though his arrest and alleged connection to Young Dolph's murder would not be publicized by South Haven police until later, as authorities across the country worked to find other suspects. And on January 5th, 2022, 7 weeks to the day of Young Dolph's murder, Memphis police announced a warrant on a first-degree murder charge for Justin Johnson.
A major break in the murder of Memphis rapper Young young Dolph. U.S. Marshals announcing the man you see on your screen here, 23-year-old Justin Johnson, is wanted for first-degree murder and violating parole. There is a $15,000 reward being offered for his capture.
Justin Johnson, also known as Straight Drop, is a rapper from Memphis who is now the main suspect in the murder of Dolph. Fans speculated that he had ties to the shooting once they recognized that the location of the Mercedes-Benz that was used as the getaway car was featured in his music video for Going Straight In. The video was taken off the internet after they realized that they had snitched on themselves. The U.S. Marshals had promised a $2,500 reward for information that would lead to his capture, and was also placed on the most wanted list and was considered to be armed and dangerous. Needless to say, he was soon arrested. A third suspect was also arrested in connection with Dolph's murder. Shondale Barnett was apprehended in Indiana and had reportedly been helping fellow suspect and would-be rapper Justin Johnson evade the police. Barnett was charged with accessory after the fact to first-degree murder and criminal attempt to commit first-degree murder. A fourth suspect, 43-year-old Hernandez Govan, who is alleged to have ordered the murder of young Dolph, was also arrested. In June 2023, Jamarcus Johnson reached a plea deal where he pleaded guilty to 3 counts of accessory after the fact, in exchange for his conspiracy to murder charge being dropped. He is expected to testify against the other suspects at their upcoming trials. So how does Big Jukes fit into all this? Was he somehow connected to the 4 suspects who were arrested for Dolph's murder? Well, the rabbit hole goes deeper, the ugly side of hip-hop. As news of Big Jukes' murder spread, social media platforms became abuzz with speculations about his connection to Hernandez Govan, who was indicted in the murder of rapper Young Dolph. The proximity of the shooting to Yo Gotti's Memphis restaurant and the historical conflict between Gotti and Dolph fueled the rumors of a possible retaliation. However, it is important to note that these speculations have not been confirmed by the authorities. The investigation is ongoing, and the truth behind Big Jukes' murder is yet to be fully revealed. Hernandez Govan, a name that had already been associated with controversy and violence, became a central figure in the speculation surrounding Big Jukes' death. The alleged connection between the two sent shockwaves through the music industry and the community, leaving many wondering about the truth behind these claims. The rumors suggested that Big Juke had been spotted with Hernandez Govan, as a photo of the pair together started making rounds on the internet. It was even rumored that Govan was Big Juke's right-hand man. What is even more disturbing were the allegations that Big Juke had put a $40,000 bounty on young Dolph's head.
These folks had something to do with it, bro. These folks don't know that Juke put a hit out, bro.
The online world was abuzz with theories, connecting the dots between the deaths of Dolph, Juke, and even Govan's own daughter, Lotta Cash Desto. Lotta Cash Desto, whose real name is Destiny Govan, was a 25-year-old rapper from Memphis, Tennessee, who was shot and killed on September 24th, 2022, at 5500 Richmond Eve. On the fateful day, Lotta Cash was driving a Porsche SUV with a 20-year-old female passenger at around 2:30 a.m. when a 4-door sedan pulled alongside the SUV at a red light. Police say 2 men hopped out of the car and opened fire on the women. Lotta Cash was quick to draw her firearm and shoot back, catching one of the attackers in the abdomen. Unfortunately, the rapper was shot multiple times, robbed, and was pronounced dead at the scene. The female passenger was transported to a local hospital with a single gunshot wound. The rapper's father, Hernandez Govan, took to Instagram to mourn her daughter's death and even blame himself for her death. "I think I cursed you, Destiny, with my lifestyle. I apologize, baby," he posted. This led people to believe that Lotta Cash's death was a retaliation for her father's role in Young Dolph's murder. The connection between Big Juke and Hernandez Govan remains shrouded in mystery. The proximity of the shooting to Yo Gotti's restaurant and the historical conflict between Gotti and Dolph certainly raise eyebrows. However, it is important to point out that the deaths of Young Dolph as well as Big Juke are not new in hip-hop. Rappers have in the past put bounties on their ops and even shot at their ops during funerals. When it comes to putting bounties on people's heads, one name comes to mind: King Von. Before his untimely demise, it was revealed that he had put a $100,000 bounty on his force rival, FBG Duck.
It was a Chicago rapper who was gunned down here on one of Chicago's ritziest streets. They say 2 other people were also shot when 4 gunmen, witnesses say, jumped out of cars and fired from just a few feet away.
August 4th, 2020. News broke out that FBG Duck had been shot and killed at Michigan Avenue and East Oak Street in the Gold Coast area of Chicago. Everyone could tell that it was a hit. First, it was done in broad daylight and in one of the most luxurious streets in Chicago. The gunmen had thrown all caution to the wind and were determined to take out their target. As it turns out, an informant had revealed to the feds that someone had put a $50,000 bounty on Duck's head. However, no one was willing to do it. The informant further revealed that the same individual had bumped up his offer to $100,000. Someone from O Block was willing to part ways with $100,000 in exchange for someone's death. Who wanted Duck dead so bad? Although the informant did not reveal the individual's name, they told the cops that the said person had rewarded the killers with custom-made O Block chains. Things were starting to fall into place. A video had earlier surfaced on YouTube of none other than King Von giving O Block members custom-made chains. Apart from this, among all the O Block members, he was the one who had that kind of money since he had made it big in his music career. Another notorious rapper known for rewarding his goons for killing ops is none other than Chef G. On October 21st, 2020, a few members of Chef G's gang headed to their rivals' territory. They hatched a well-thought-out plan on how to attack their rivals. What they did not know was that all their actions that night would be captured on CCTV. The group pulled up near Hawthorne Street and Nostrand Avenue, an area where Folk Nation frequently hung out. Surveillance footage from that night obtained by the NYPD showed a white sedan back up onto the sidewalks moments before the shooting started. After it came to halt, 3 guns stuck out of the car. After unleashing a barrage of bullets towards their victim's direction, they speed off. Another camera on a different street reveals that this was a carefully orchestrated plan. Another car was used to help the shooters make a quick getaway. From this CCTV footage, a white Jeep is seen blocking off traffic as it waits for the sedan. As soon as the sedan carrying the shooter turns at the intersection, the Jeep follows it and both cars speed off into the night. The next morning, news spreads that one member of the Folk Nation gang had been shot and killed. 3 other Folk Nation members and 2 innocent bystanders were also shot. However, their injuries were not fatal. This is where the story becomes even more interesting. Chef G must have thought that he was Don Corleone from The Godfather as he organized a party to celebrate the gang's win. 2 days after the homicide, it is alleged that Chef G hosted a lavish dinner with his fellow gang members, including fellow rapper Sleepy Hallow, at a Manhattan steakhouse to celebrate the death of their op. This became a trend within the gang as Chef G continued offering money and giving expensive jewelry to those who committed acts of violence. While it seems this is a trend in the hip-hop underworld, another disturbing trend is that of attacking ops during a funeral. And this takes us back to King Von and his Chicago goons. The war between King Von's O Block and fellow rapper Wooski's gang STL-EBT had been raging for years as they went after each other without remorse. The 2 gangs would taunt each other even on social media and would celebrate anytime any of the sides suffered losses. The 2 had taken it one step further and even put innocent lives at risk when a funeral became a battleground. It all began in 2018 when one of Wooski's friends, rapper Van Tree's Chris, alias Dusky Thalman, was shot and killed by an op. After his death, Von FaceTimed Wooski to brag about the killing and tell him that they were going to surprise them. Little did they know that they were about to engage in a forced shootout.
We go surprise! You talking about tonight. We go surprise, bro!
Being a loved figure in the community, O Block members knew that the funeral would be jam-packed with their ops, making it a perfect opportunity to strike, which they did. On the afternoon of the 17th of October, all hell broke out at Dusky's funeral.
We've learned a little bit more about the victims this afternoon. There were a total of 6 people who were shot outside the church. It was a pandemonium, a scene of pandemonium right after that happened. Many of those people who were shot were leaving a funeral inside the church.
During the funeral, a car pulled up, men jumped out, and opened fire on the mourners. Some of the gang members mourning their fallen soldier, including Wooski, also pulled out their firearms and shot back. The operation was starting to look like a failure as no one was getting hit. However, as the attackers were about to give up, Wooski was shot in the head and fell to the ground. Seeing this, the shooters got back in their getaway car and sped off. Wooski was not the only one shot as 6 other people also sustained gunshot wounds. Luckily, everyone survived, including Wooski, who was shot in the head. Von would go on to release tracks that were filled with disrespectful lyrics towards Wooski and his predicament. In Grandson for President, Von raps, "I've been killing for too long, I'm like a veteran. Wooski got shot in the head, now he taking medicine." As the disturbing pattern of death and destruction continues to ravage the hip-hop world, we can only wait and see if Big Jook's killers will be brought to book and whether the murder is truly connected to Young Dolph's murder. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.